it tonight. It's so good. It's so rich.
Serena Winters, Dowling Sports. Coach, the past couple of games against Milwaukee, different personnel, different lineups. But one thing that did stay constant were the third quarters. What did you see from those two games in the third quarter that you want to make sure you improve upon tonight?
When you go back and watch it, I thought we still created the shots that we were looking for. I thought their physicality, kind of sped us up, and we didn't play with the same level of poise that we were playing with in the first two quarters. You look at some of the shots and they're open shots, but to their credit, they make you feel covered. Their length and size and the pressure that they put on you, they kind of have you feeling them even though they're not there. But again, we just have to recognize that our opportunities are there and we keep doing what we do and we can take advantage of those opportunities.
KJ is going to take my second question today. He is shadowing me as he wants to be an NBA reporter for today. So what you got, KJ?
So I asked all the other players, what gets you pumped up during pregame? Like, what gets you pumped up? Because what gets me pumped up is music. What gets you pumped up during pregame?
I'd like to just focus on the competition, because that's the fun part of what we do is, just the battle of every possession, the mind games that are being played, the adjustments that you have to play, and then how do you help and how do you teach your guys in those moments? So for me, that's what gets me going, and just, sitting in my office and trying to prepare for that, that gets me excited and ready for the game. Thank you.
Tom Withers, AP. Is Donovan being called for an offensive foul on a three-pointer get you pumped up?
In different ways, yeah.
Hey, I was curious, aside from Cavs in tonight's game, Greg Popovich was nominated or is one of the finalists for the Hall of Fame this year. What do you appreciate as a coach about Pop most?
The consistency. And, it's more, than the basketball. And I don't know how much I've talked about it with him, but like my dad and him have had a relationship for 100 years now, it seems like. When I was 12 or 13, him and R.C. Buford had a basketball camp in Aspen when we were living in Denver at the time. So, my dad drove us up there and dropped us off up there. And we stayed, it was an overnight camp. We stayed. And like ever since then, every time I've seen him, it's always, he always reaches out or comes, to me with ideas, suggestions, just like support, ways he can help, and things like that. So it's the consistency to me as a person. And then obviously the job he's done speaks for itself, to be able to survive, the different eras that he went through and the different way and styles that his teams had to play, even with the same personnel for so long, right? Like he went from the two bigs, slow it down to then they opened it up more and started playing faster. And then they went back to two bigs again and slowed it down. And, his ability to just, continue to survive and survive at the highest level, and adjust as a coach, I think is the thing that's most impressive. But, it's funny. Like he actually, I think it was when I took over in Houston, we met at half court and he brought me a DVD. And he had a DVD from that camp, where, they tell you to introduce yourself and say your name and all whatever that stuff was. At DVD, that's how long ago it was, right? But, and he was like, give this to your father, and it's like, that's kind of just who he is, as a person. And it wasn't about the game. It was about, that moment. I don't know how many years ago now, 5 years ago, I think it was, that we had at his camp,
Assessment of a 12-year-old JV's game.
He wouldn't give it because he didn't want to critique me.
Kelsey Rose, The Athletic. I know Lamar is still listed as doubtful, but how is he progressing with that his knee injury?
It's more and more every day. Again, it's been looked at, and it's about a pain thing, and what he's capable of handling. So we'll again always protect our guys and put them in the best positions so they don't hurt themselves further. But we'll continue to work through and see where he is.
How have you liked how Isaac has been able to slide in at the 3 and these past couple of games and just kind of fit in with that starting lineup?
I think he's done a good job. I think this is, the best we've seen of him. And I understand too that that's on me because a lot of that comes with his minutes and being on the floor because that's the kind of player he is. The longer he's on the floor, the more good things happen and the more impactful he can be. So we've just got to continue to find a way for him. But he's defended well. He helps us get out in transition, and finish in the open floor. He's rebounding, he's sharing the ball. So there's a lot of things he's doing that's been helpful.
Danny Cunningham, ESPN Cleveland. JB, obviously, you guys have a big front court. There's not a lot of teams that stack up size-wise with you guys, but Milwaukee is one of them. What kind of challenges do Brook and Giannis present with their size for your front court?
I think defensively, it's what the job that they do in the paint. We've typically been able to have a lot of success in the paint. I think this is one of the teams that we've struggled against, finishing in the painted area because of their size and their length, but also their intelligence. Like they have an understanding of how they work together and how they, protect one another. And it never seems like one of those guys isn't at the rim. So, that's an area where we can improve, but then they kind of flip it on you on the other end of the floor. With Brook's ability, like they stand him at the coach's hash, and he's capable of making that shot from there. So now the spacing is open for, a guy like Giannis and Drew Holiday, like that are attacking the paint, and they lift one of your biggest guys, out of the painted area, and you have to stay home. So, they're really good at what they do. They spend a ton of time together and been together for a long time and have a real high level understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. And it's up to us to just figure it out.
When both teams are currently in the top 3 in the East, I think both teams are 7-3 in the last 10. Do you guys view this as a measuring stick game?
We try not to make those games anything more than what they are. We play all 82 and try to approach it the same way. I'd be lying to you if I said to you that, that competition and who this team is doesn't, excite you a little bit more and bring out a little bit more from your guys, because that's competition, right? Whenever you face champions or whenever you face the best, you want to give them your best shot. But from an approach standpoint, we try to handle it the same way. We'll go back afterwards, we'll watch the film, and we'll try to get better no matter what happens.
Lisa Beinson with Bucks TV. Last year when you played the Bucks, I know you made an analogy about little brother versus big brother and kind of punching first and taking the counter punches. So along, I guess a similar line is that last question. With a different year, a different team, how much can you apply that analogy with the team that you have in this matchup this year?
I think it's the same, and I think what we did is we earned their respect. If you get a lucky shot in on your big brother one time, the next time you fight him, he's going to be prepared for that. And I think, that's what we've seen in these first 2 games is, we've come out, but there is a level of respect that they have for us, and they've taken their game to another level because they knew what to expect. So, now it's our opportunity to try to hold serve and learn from the last 2 games and see what we did successfully, and then figure out how do we repeat that, especially in the third quarter, as we've seen them go on big runs. I think both games we've had leads at the half. It's our responsibility now. We got to finish games and do it for 48.
Coach, I just wanted to ask about Drew Holiday. Last game, he was guarding Zion Williamson, and there's clearly a size difference there. Different game, different personnel tonight. But just from your coaching background and your knowledge of the game, like stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, why he's so successful on the defensive end?
Because he's just not afraid. I think that's part of the deal is like he wants to guard every single person on the other team. It does not matter if you're, 7 feet tall, if you're 6'8", 5'9", he wants to guard you. And I think that's where you have to start. He's got some of the best feet in the league. He has the ability to stay in front of people. He doesn't give up angles very often. And most of the things that you do have to come over the top of him. He also has extremely quick hands. So when bigger guys, don't keep the ball high and tight like old school fundamentals and they bring it down, like you're playing at his strength. And now he has the opportunity to get his hands and get deflections and get steals. But the other thing too is like his demeanor never changes, right? Like a guy can go score back-to-back buckets and he doesn't panic. He always stays like, again, from the outside looking in, he always seems to stay even keel and just move on to the next play. And, that's something that as our young guys grow, we hope they can learn from.
Joe Barton, the Athletic. Do you think Pop's the greatest NBA coach ever?
Oh, Bernie Bickerstaff is. I think I would say yes. And again, I would say, creating not only a basketball team and a basketball style, but like he created a model that teams across the league have tried to duplicate, and very few have been able to do it, if any.
What is the model? Like, what do you?
It's the type of people that they assemble, not only from basketball players but front office coaches. You look at Tim Duncan, David Robinson, like the type of leadership that they have. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, like superstar players who always believed that the team was more important than they were. People from all over the league have grabbed from San Antonio, right, and tried to replicate that other places. And, I'm just trying to think about it a bit. I don't think anybody off the top of my head has been able to do it for as long, right? Like I think, Sam in Oklahoma City, they got really, really close, but obviously those guys kind of separated. But like, I think he's been a model that everybody's trying to reach, since he started this, whatever it's 20 some years ago. And, he's been the only one who's been able to sustain it that long.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, JB.
That was a cheap question.